All right, folks. Super excited to jump into today's episode. I'm joined by Anthony Arvanitakis. Myself and Anthony cross paths. We're in an online coaching program together, and he's got a really impressive, interesting story. And he also has been putting out some fantastic content for over a decade on YouTube and online. So, Anthony, really happy to have you on, mate. Let's jump in, mate. Tell people who you are and kind of how you got to where you are today.
All right. So thanks for the great intro. So my name is Anthony Arvanitakis. From my last name, you can guess that I'm probably Greek, which I am. I grew up in Greece. I left a little bit abroad. I'm back now here in my hometown. And in a nutshell, like my whole story, what happened basically while I was studying sports science in university around age 22, I had an accident, crashed with a motorcycle. I was working on the side as a pizza delivery guy during studies. I crashed with a car. I flew for about 21 meters. That's like about, I don't know, 50, no, 60 feet. Landed on the pavement, didn't feel anything at first. You're in shock and all that adrenaline. Looked down, my leg was pretty messed up. And what followed after that were basically 6 weeks in the hospital where everybody was trying, the doctors were trying to fix my leg, a lot of surgeries. After those 6 weeks, my recovery was, plans to be about a year. That 1 year turned into 3 years. I left Greece. I went to Northern Europe, to the Netherlands, to try to fix my whole health situation there. Anyway, to cut a long story short, after 5.5 to almost 6 years of failed operations, we decided to have an amputation. So I'm nowadays below the knee amputee. After that long journey, after being in great shape before my accident, I used to compete in professional sports and canoe kayaking. Before my accident, I ended up being completely out of shape, borderline depressed. Everything was completely unbalanced in terms of nutrition, in terms of mental health, physical health. And that's when I decided that I was sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. So once I got my prosthetic leg, I decided that this is where, all the drama stops. I now have a solution that is permanent, because the biggest problem during those 6 years was that we were always trying new things, and I couldn't kind of move on with my life. All my friends were finishing university, they were getting jobs, they were getting married or starting businesses and all of that, but I was constantly being in that place where I couldn't take a step forward. Whenever I tried to, then it was 2 steps back, again surgery. So 6 years later, I decided, okay, I'm back at zero with my fitness and everything. How do I start? How do I get back in shape? I decided that I needed to tackle 3 things: mental health, physical health, and nutrition. So exercise-wise, I started training at home, strictly with bodyweight exercises. I didn't have access to a gym. At that point, it wasn't practical. So I decided I'll start training at home and see what happens. I started eating better, and I started doing a lot of mindfulness meditation and reading a lot of self-development books for my mental health. So it turns out that, after about 3 months of that, of eating a lot better, of, also consuming positive information and also working out, I started to get in pretty decent shape. My body was changing. And I was kind of amazed by how much progress I was making strictly with bodyweight exercise. Because, in the past, I would lift a lot of weights. We would combine actually both calisthenics and weights, but I never thought that just by doing bodyweight stuff, you could, get in such a great shape. So I decided that this is something that I liked. This is something that is interesting. Once I got used to being able to train anywhere and anytime, like going back to the gym just felt foreign. It felt uncomfortable. I wasn't like excited to do that. So I decided to keep on doing the bodyweight stuff. Back then, we're talking about 2000 and what was it? 2012. Calisthenics, bodyweight exercise wasn't as popular as it is today. You mostly had guys that were doing like amazing stuff on the bars, but the more acrobatic kind of calisthenics, right? You didn't have like a realistic approach for the average guy, who doesn't have like a 10-year background in gymnastics, that, isn't in amazing shape already to be able to do all these stunts without getting injured and all of that. So I decided that it would be great for me to develop like a more realistic approach, a more down to earth approach of getting in shape with calisthenics that is approachable to guys that are starting from zero like me, who can't do a lot of stuff. Maybe you can do a few push-ups or even not even that. So how do you start from zero, building up your physical strength, your relative strength, and getting healthier, getting fitter, just through calisthenics? Wrote a book on that. My first book, it did unexpectedly well. And slowly I decided that this is what I wanted to do. At that point, I was kind of trying, I had a 9 to 5 desk job while working on this whole project, my fitness project, which was more of a hobby then, until I decided that, I want to quit my office job. I'm going to do this full time. And that was the beginning of my project of Bodyweight Muscle, my YouTube channel, my website, my books, my coaching, and all that.
Yeah, man, there's so much in there. Like it's just it could have went very much the other way, right? Like it could have really, and now you're using this really terrible, unfortunate thing that happened, and you've changed your own life and you're helping other people. So like with that 6 year period, what was that process like when you had to make the decision about like, okay, we're going to get a prosthetic, and like this is the next step? Because it sounds like you were kind of in limbo. Was it kind of, you're like, oh, maybe this will work, maybe this will work, so I won't have to, go to that, like to lose the leg? Was that what was going on? And then eventually you had to make that decision. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I was around year 3, I kind of realized that this is not working. This is like not probably going to be a solution. I started talking about that with my doctors, telling them like maybe going the prosthetic leg route would be a better solution. But my doctors weren't like very excited to pull the trigger on that. They were always just trying to convince me to, keep trying. I don't know how much of that is part of, not having your doctor, take a lot of the weight of that decision on themselves, when there's maybe still just a little bit of room for like a very small chance for, maybe saving that leg. So I was kind of pushing my doctors since year 3, but they were constantly, telling me to give it one more try. So, I was also confused. So I said, I'm just going to listen to my doctors until I posed that question again at year 5. And that's when they agreed. So, I was okay, let's do this. I'm good to go. And actually that last surgery was the easiest one for me. Like most people think that an amputation would probably be a really hard thing to do. But for me, like the hardest part was just being stuck for 5.5 years, not being able to move on with my life. That was the hardest part. Like the amputation was kind of like, I had already started working. Like once we decided to go the amputation route, my surgery was planned in 6 months. The reason for that was because, other more urgent surgeries were prioritized. Plus, doctors wanted to give me some time for me to be sure, that this is what I want. But during those 6 months, I actually already started to get, I started training, I started doing everything I mentioned. So, in order to be at my best for that last surgery, and I was therefore already at a good place. And that last surgery, I don't know, I was doing a lot of mindfulness meditation, which was keeping me really, very centered, very focused on, not getting stressed about all of that. And I would say that last surgery was probably the easiest for me, because it was also like, freedom. uh, so yeah, that's kind of how that that experience was.
Yeah, so basically it was like, okay, now there's actually clarity. Like this is, it's not just like maybe this, maybe this.
Yeah,
It's
clear
like, okay,
path.
this exactly. What would you say was the, going through all that, man? It must have been super challenging. So, like, what would you say was the big lesson or lessons you got from that whole experience? Because, in particular, you were a really fit guy. You were a pro kayaker, was it beforehand, and studying sport and exercise science? So,
Yeah.
clearly super and representing Greece in kayaking. Like, did you say internationally?
I never reached like an international level, but we did won some like first places on a national level.
Wow. Okay. So super high level athlete. So obviously going from 100 to zero. So like, yeah, what would you say was the lesson or lessons going through that kind of 5 or 6 year phase?
Probably the biggest lesson was that I spent so much of my teens, all those years focused on one aspect of mental health, uh, physical health, and I kind of neglected. I really neglected the whole mental health aspect. So I wasn't really equipped to deal with that accident mentally, because my typical way to deal with problems in life was to just, I'm stressed, I'm gonna go run up the mountain. I'm sad, I'm just gonna go do like a long strength workout, a hardcore strength workout. So whenever I was dealing with stressful situations, emotions as a teenager, as we all did, training was the answer. And suddenly, I was actually, I was restricted to a bed for a lot of years, because for 5.5 years, I was either recovering from one surgery or waiting for the other one, constantly on crutches. Like, a lot of those, a big chunk of those 5 years, I couldn't really do a lot because, I was tired. I was recovering again. I was on painkillers. Then, there were infections. There were all kinds of problems. So I wasn't really equipped to deal with all of that because, suddenly my only tool, training, exercise, was something I didn't have access to. So I was like, kind of strapped on a bed, like on a bed, without being able to do any physical exercise. And I had to deal with all that stress, all my demons, all that. And that's one of the biggest lessons I got. I mean, exercise is a great tool to have in life, but you need to also work on your spirit other than your physical body. So that is why I got so deep into meditation. Like the moment I started changing everything, that's why I started working, studying more positive psychology related stuff. That is when I in general started studying a lot. And I would say the biggest game changer, like the book that helped me deal with all that, was The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Uh, Pretty popular book nowadays. For those who don't know Ryan Holiday, he has some great stuff. He's a pretty big fan of the Stoics, and like that's when I realized, okay, so I can either like keep complaining or I can flip this around. So what do I want to do? Like, fitness is something I love. So how can this, missing leg that would actually most people would see as a limitation, right? When it comes to fitness, how can I flip this around? How can I make this, an opportunity? How can I turn this obstacle around and use it to my advantage, and use it to in a positive way to motivate people, to inspire people, to get in shape and all of that. So that's one of the biggest lessons. Like, whenever like a big tragedy knocks on your door in life, obviously you're gonna have that first a few days where you're gonna struggle emotionally. You're human, but once you give yourself some time to feel that way, that's when you have to start thinking, okay, like, what's the opportunity here? How can I gain something out of this horrible situation? Because that's like the most powerful motive for humans is, comes when out of times that are difficult, right? Because when everything is going right, when everything is easy going, we usually don't do a lot to change. We're not that motivated to change. It's easy to get into cruise control, whereas when you have obstacles, like that's when you can use a lot of that drive, a lot of that emotional charge to do big things. So that's what I learned. Like, obviously obstacles suck, but they're also a great opportunity for you to make a big change in your life.
That's such a good lesson, man. And yeah, like basically, I really like what you said as well about a lot of the times you see it a lot like, oh, the gym is my therapy or whatever, and it can be really good. But as you said, if that's taken away from you, you're in a bad place if the only way you're dealing with emotional stuff is through just tiring yourself out. And I love how you also noted like, yeah, process it for however long you need to, but then look at it. Okay, where's the opportunity? How can I use this obstacle as a guidance? It's that I think it's Dave Tate. He says, through times of adversity, we grow the most.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's so true. So yeah, I'm really happy you shared that, man. That's such a good lesson. Let's talk about your writing. You've done a lot of writing over the last few years, so maybe could also, I think it'd be interesting as well how you have found writing from a processing tool, maybe from a mental health side of things, but also like creatively, and how you've written 2 books now. So yeah, I'd love just you to riff on that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say that I'm a lot better at expressing myself through writing. Also, maybe that's being an introverted person. Maybe that's also one reason. But for me, it was I needed a way to basically share my story with people, to a way to make find meaning through my struggle. And the way that I got started with was just writing a book about my story, and thinking about everything, putting everything on paper. So because as human beings, we tend to forget about the hard times and the lessons we learn, and we very easily tend to move towards getting comfortable again, and not really doing the things that help us grow during challenging times. So I wanted to, in one way, to document everything I went through, and to also give it meaning by sharing it with people. Sharing about how I changed, how I took this obstacle, flipped it around. And I really didn't expect a lot out of it. Like I was never good at writing essays at school, and I actually really, really sucked at it. I think the main reason was because I never found the topics interesting. Um, Plus, teachers weren't usually inspiring for me, the ones I had. But the moment I started working on something I enjoyed, like, I wouldn't say I was great at it from the first day. I wasn't. I actually sucked. I actually wrote that first book about 3 times before I published it. The first time was really bad. Like, I cringe nowadays if I accidentally, come across that PDF file. But after the first one, I did some courses. I did, some studying on writing and all that. So the second one was an improvement. The third one, I wouldn't say is great, but I think what made people connect with it was its like raw honesty, like its simplicity, and I think that's what got across to people. And ever since then, I find writing a great tool to think. It's a way for me to think, to document everything, to come up with solutions, to be creative. And I really love writing in the morning. Like, the moment I wake up, that's the first thing I do for minimum 80 minutes. Some days it's going to be 300 words, and I'm going to struggle with that. Other days it's just going to flow. But I always commit to that appointment with myself. Like, every morning I'm going to write for 80 minutes. Whatever comes out, comes out. And I really find that that's the best way for me to start my day, and give it, in a way, purpose.
Nice, man. That's very impressive. So you get up, yeah, just kind of walk us through the morning routine. Like,
Mhm.
are you doing anything? Are you going for a walk or anything beforehand, or is it straight into work? Like, give us an idea of that first kind of 1 to 2 hours of your day.
So it's been morphing a lot the last years, because that's life. We keep changing, our environment changes, relationships change, and all of that. So I used to start my day with a workout and then switch to writing. Nowadays I do the opposite. So I wake up pretty early, usually 5 a.m. I have like a very like robotic way of how my morning starts. I put some water to boil, I go to the bathroom, do my business, I come back, I pour my like filter, I ground some coffee beans, I pour that in. So I make myself a filter coffee, and I know nowadays the whole craze is about how you need to delay that your coffee intake in the morning by 90 minutes to capitalize on all of that. I'm a creature of habit. Like I've really connected coffee, the smell, the taste with writing, so I don't care about that. I just start my day with my
Yeah.
coffee. It works for me. It wakes me up. Either that's placebo or not, I don't care, as long as it works, right? So I have my coffee, and I take actually 15 minutes to just sit on the couch. I'll usually listen to a podcast, like not an educational podcast, like just a comedic podcast, something funny that just helps me loosen up. And once I have like about half of my coffee, I then switch to writing for 80 minutes. Once I'm done with writing, I have my clothes set up on my bed from the previous night. I put on my clothes, my workout clothes, and I just go for a workout. And after that, the rest of my day starts.
You've shared some really great nuggets there, man, because obviously all the Andrew Huberman people are screaming now at you. But like it's you've laid out your environment to win in the morning and the night before, which I think is awesome. So like, the coffee, that's like the trigger, that kind of, okay, now it's time to write. I also like the comedy in the morning. That's a nice little way to kind of, you're not like trying to learn stuff or anything like that. It's kind of lighthearted, which that's a really nice thing. And also like drinking your coffee, and then, near the end of the coffee, you kind of start your writing, and then the clothes are laid out. So it's kind of like, I think that's a really important thing. We can maybe go in that direction now around manipulating environment to really make it easy for people to win. So yeah, maybe we can just talk about maybe a few more nuggets for people who are listening for that, because I think it's like the most important thing to actually do the things you want to do, is like changing the environment. So let's just think, as a guy, he's 40, he's listening to this, he's got 2 kids, he feels crap, he knows what he needs to do, but he's just not doing it, and he's got back pain. He's looking at his 5-year-old kid, and he's like, I need to sort this out, because like this is getting too much. So maybe could you give him 2 or 3 environmental changes or hacks that he could start implementing, just to make things easier to kind of, just to get that layup each day that's easier and more accessible for him? And maybe one for nutrition, one for training, and then one for just maybe time or stress. And I think that'd be really helpful.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think that one of the biggest problems the busy 40-year-old guy faces, either that's a dad or a businessman or a combination of all of that, is that we live in this whole like black or white culture where you're either a ultra marathoner or just don't run at all. It doesn't, it's not worth it. You're either like a gym rat, you're either like a bodybuilder, you spend all these hours in the gym, or otherwise, why bother, why train? And a lot of guys are like that. I would say the majority are like that. Most guys think that unless I have like 90 minutes per day to train, or like 2 hours or 3 times a week, like it's not really worth it. And most guys think that you need to like completely destroy yourself during a workout for it to be valuable, which might have worked when you were 20, but let's be realistic. When you're 20, anything you do works training wise. Your body's basically like, it's the same thing like with a 40-year-old guy being on steroids. That's how your physiology is primed when you're 18, 20. So anything you do works, just as anything works if you're on steroids. But once you start getting older, and I mean, those changes are apparent even after 30. Like most people say that I'm extreme to say that, but it's true. Like, if the way I see it, like nature gives you like a complete warranty for your body until you're 30. Like, you can do a lot of things and get away with them, But after that, every little thing you mess up like that becomes tax that you will pay sooner or later.
That's good.
So first of all, guys need to change their mindset if they want to create a realistic approach to fitness. You don't need to be hardcore with your workouts. Actually, I consider that counterproductive. It doesn't mean that you can't work hard. There are times for that as well. But it shouldn't be like the only solution for you, because that's, first of all, that's overwhelming, because if you think that that's the only way you can train, it's never going to become a habit. It's never going to be sustainable. And once you learn to start with very small goals, and be fine, like for most guys, like even if you just took 20 minutes every morning to do like a simple mobility routine, like your whole physical health would be so much better, right? Probably, if you combine that with a little bit of walking, your lower back would be fine. Even if you're struggling with that, you'd feel better emotionally, mentally, and you'd probably even lose a little bit of weight, assuming you, of course, combine that with a little bit of a realistic approach to eating. So to summarize that big rant, start small, like start with something very small. The best way to build a habit is, like to simplify it as much as possible, make it as easy as possible, and then you can slowly build on that. So I would say, what is realistic for you right now? Is it 10 minutes of exercise? Great. Like find a good mobility routine, something you can do in the morning, something that is not hardcore. Some dynamic stretches, some mobility routines. I mean, I know you have a lot of stuff on your Instagram account on those stuff, so people can find those, and do that every morning. See how you're going to feel better. Most guys at this point would tell you that, I don't have the time to do that in the morning. Like I'm already like running out the door with my coffee, trying to get at work. But really, if you're smart about how you restructure your whole morning, if you plan some things from the previous night, you lay up your clothes, you prepare your backpack or your suitcase, your whatever stuff you need for work. If you have that set up, you don't need to wake up like more than, maybe you can go to sleep 10 minutes earlier. You can wake up 10 minutes earlier. There you go. You have like 20 minutes freed up. Not only is that going to help you feel better, you're going to probably, be better at your work. You'll be clearer. You'll be more woken up. Most people will be still, barely struggling to wake up during the first hour of work. You'll be, already functioning a lot better. And start with that. Like once you can do that, like a simple mobility routine doesn't even have to be 20 minutes, for 10 minutes every morning. Once you can do that consistently for 3 weeks, okay, let's build it up now. Let's add a set of push-ups or 2 sets. Let's add a few sets of pull-ups, build it gradually, whatever it is you want to do. Maybe it's like, maybe you want to start jogging. Start very small, create a routine, eliminate as much friction as possible in the morning. So, have everything set up. And the more you do this, the easier it becomes. Like I have a whole book on that, the 7 a.m. workout edge. And the reason I named it the 7 a.m. workout edge, a lot of people sometimes tell me like, I mean, I'm already at work. I'm already on the road at 7 a.m. I'm trying to go at work. Like the point is not that you work out at 7 a.m. in the morning. The point is that I wanted to explain to people that you don't have to do like 2-hour morning workouts like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. You don't have to wake up at 4 a.m. to get a good workout in. You just have to be a little bit smart about how you restructure things. And if you have like those 30 minutes, like that's the goal of the book, for you to find those 30 minutes to work out in the morning. And if you do that every day, like you can be in great shape. Not within 6 weeks, as a lot of guys like to promise, but within a year, you'll be feeling amazing. You'll be in great shape. Your body will have less pain, less aches. And that can be like the domino effect that can change so many other things.
That's such good advice, man. I really like that you started with the mindset as well, because when you say just do 10 minutes or 20 minutes, people are like, oh, but as you said, I need to do like an hour to get results or whatever. So start with the mindset, understand that you need to learn to walk before you sprint, basically. And with habits, it's the same thing. And you can just take 10 minutes off your bedtime and add 10 minutes to your morning routine. And then all of a sudden, it's very, very small. It's not a big shift. And a lot of the times, I think also just to add to what you said, Anthony, is like getting off technology is generally the biggest metric or the biggest kind of environmental change you can make, because if you get up in the morning, your phone's beside your bed, you're either going to hit snooze or you grab your phone and then, oh, I've been on Instagram for 45 minutes. I'm in a rush now. And the end of the day, you've 2 hours to watch Netflix every night, but you don't have enough
Yeah.
time to train. So it's just being honest as well, like with yourself, because you're going to lose to technology every time. Like, we're against the smartest people in the world with $1 billion budgets. So you're going to lose, like, very, very simple, right? Do you want to talk a bit more about your book, mate? Because that's the most recent one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, at some point, a little bit before COVID, I was running this local personal coaching business here. So I just came back from the Netherlands. I just started training a few people. Suddenly, before I knew it, I had like a clientele of about 30 clients. So I was working a lot. I was coaching people all day, trying to build my new practice. And at some point, I realized that I actually didn't have time to train for myself. So I was, after a lot of years of being very consistent with training, I was suddenly, not walking the talk. I was doing a great job at coaching, but I wasn't training myself. So I realized that that was kind of an excuse, that was kind of a lie that I was telling myself, and that I don't have the time to train because, I still procrastinated for 30 minutes on social media in the morning. The way I framed that, it was that, like, my business is related to social media, so, I have to be on top of that. But, in reality, I could be smart about that. So I slowly started trying, morning workouts. I realized that that extreme approach of like training 2 hours in the morning doesn't work. Then I tried smaller workouts. I started training in a more smart way. I created workout routines that were more easily adaptable to the morning, that built intensity in a way that is also safe, because, it is definitely a different thing to train in the morning. Your body's a lot more primed to perform in the afternoon, whereas in the morning it does take some time for you, for your engine to get started. So I figured out all kinds of ways to work around those little obstacles with morning exercise. And suddenly I realized that I was getting a short workout, 30 minutes, but I was getting great progress because I was doing it every day. I was less stressed. I felt more comfortable in my skin. Before that, I was just rushing to my first coaching session. I was stressed. Because I had all these balls that I was trying to juggle in the air. Whereas now I was starting my day with my workout, which would help me de-stress, think more clearly, had better energy, didn't have to stress about when I'm going to train later on in the day. And that really created like a positive domino effect of me getting both my business better handled, feeling better, being less stressed, and finding balance again. So I realized that I wanted to have like a roadmap of all this, like something, a guide that could be, very, that had everything I've been doing like very simply explained, laid out. So, anytime I try to get back into my old routine, so, skipping that morning, snoozing the alarm in the morning, skipping that morning workout, and going back to my old habits, because that did happen. So I did have some, I did fall off the wagon a few times, using excuses that I'm tired, I need those extra more 30 minutes to sleep in the morning, blah, blah, blah. So, the moment I worked around all that, I found solutions for all that. I realized that I also needed like a clear roadmap initially for myself. So, anytime I had excuses about skipping my morning workout, I could take that roadmap, read it, like, okay, I've done this mistake already like 10 times. This is not smart, so I shouldn't do it again. Training in the morning works it's great right now, it's the best solution for me. So that's how I got started with the book. I started sharing a little bit about that online. People were interesting. Then I thought, okay, this is a good idea for an actual book that I can share with other people. And yeah, that's how I got started with the 7 a.m. workout edge.
That's cool, man. I really like the fact that it was your problem first, and then you used it, you started documenting it for yourself,
Yeah.
and then you just put it out there, and people are like, yeah, this is, I have this issue as well. So that's really cool. Just on the writing that roadmap, like, would you be doing your routine, then you might fall out, or you find you skipped a few days, and you would just note, like how did that process start? Like, what sort of stuff were you noting to build out that roadmap?
Yeah, so I started noticing, like, what are my typical excuses, how that doesn't really work, getting those. For example, I realized that sleeping 30 minutes and skipping my morning workout actually made me feel worse. So I had less energy during the day. Whereas, if I slept 30 minutes less and got a morning workout, I actually felt better. I felt more rested. So, obviously sleep is important, like sleep is essential for health. But if you have to choose between getting a short workout and restricting a little bit of your sleep, I believe that that's a better choice always. You always feel more energized. Now that doesn't work, with the extreme approach. Like, if you're going to skip like 2 hours of sleep for like a hardcore morning workout, that doesn't work. I've tried that and I've burned and I've crashed. So I know that doesn't work. But those 30 minutes, if you focus on a short dynamic workout that is very carefully designed, so you start slowly, you build up the intensity gracefully, you don't beat up your body, that actually works a lot better if you want to be, have better energy levels, feel better, be more clear headed and all of that. So I started noticing all these little things, and I started noticing all my excuses most people use to avoid their morning routines. I started to, note down what didn't work, what did work. So again, for example, the hardcore morning workout that in the long run that actually caused me a burnout a few years earlier when I lived in the Netherlands. I had tried that previously. I knew that that didn't work in the long run. So, putting together all these pieces, what works, what's the most efficient way to keep this a sustainable practice, like that's the core of the book.
Yeah, mate, and I think, just to reiterate the point, like, if you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm tired, and then you kind of snooze or sleep for another half an hour, you feel like, I don't think anyone ever is like, oh, that was really great, like, I feel awesome now, versus, oh, I'm tired, okay, just get it done anyway, low intensity, and you
Yeah.
always feel better. I think that's the important thing to note there. Also, I think what's really coming across here, man, is like self awareness, which I'm guessing is being built from writing. Would you say? Is that how you're kind of really, it's like trial and error, but you're also catching, oh, this is a problem, and then you're kind of reflecting on it. So is that all through writing, or just like mentally in your head, you're noting stuff?
Yeah, it was a combination of both. It was the writing part and everything I was experiencing during that morning workout. And like what I would do, I would have these insights during my morning workouts. I would just record them on my phone, put them on paper later on. So it was a combination both of insights that came during my morning workouts. And I do find that, morning workouts are a great place to get inspiration. Uh, for some reason, I think it's a combination of starting on a clean slate. You haven't started your day thinking about problems yet. That's why also I like to start with like a relaxing, a funny podcast. I think that being in a loose state mentally, when you're not stressing, like that's the best way you can uh, be creative from. So I find that combination, those morning workouts when your brain is still pretty clear, you haven't started stressing about stuff, plus how your body actually loosens up more through exercise, like that can be a great place for inspiration, for thinking clearly. And I used to meditate in the morning, but my workouts kind of became a form of meditation, of active meditation by themselves. And the reason for that is, I started with the first point is that you start on a clean slate in the morning. You haven't started stressing about things, but it's also the whole peaceful environment around you, right? Like most of the town is still sleeping. It's pretty peaceful. You don't have like traffic, cars, people shouting and all of that. And I find that whole morning vibe really helps you be creative, be more insightful, and like start your day really by feeling really, really good. And there was this, I think, a study in the past where they talked about how making your bed in the morning, makes you a more successful person. And I think the reason behind that is that you start with an easy task, you achieve it successfully, so you create that momentum. So if making your bed in the morning does all that, imagine what a morning workout does. Imagine how you feel when you start your day already having done something great like a workout. How much that gives you confidence, how much you feel that you're starting on a positive note. Everybody still is just waking up and you've already completed your workout. That really, really feels good.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. I think when you wake up and first of all, I think following through with what you said you're going to do is a massive thing. So, like, you wake up, you do your workout, and you're just it's like a sense of pride. Like, you're like, yeah, I did this thing that is easier to skip, and you feel really good about yourself. And also, yeah, in the morning, for you, like, you've already written and you've done a workout. So, like, it's a pretty good day. If everything else goes to shit, like, you're pretty happy, I'm guessing, at that point with your
Yeah.
day. I'd like to just go into the meditative side of training. So I was talking do you know Steve Cotter,
No.
kettlebell guy? He's a really great guy to look up. He's big in kettlebells. He's 53. I interviewed him on Tuesday, and he's been coaching since 1985, which is pretty amazing. So he's big in martial arts and the mind body connection, much more of a holistic approach. But yeah, he was talking as well about very much being very present with when it comes to training. So he's very much focusing on the breath when he's exercising. Um, so what do you do to turn your workouts into a more meditative practice, or anything maybe someone listening could take action on? Because I know, myself included, like, a lot of times I'm just, I'm distracted. I'm listening to music and I'm just I'm doing it, I'm doing 4 different things at once. I'm training, listening to music. Sometimes I'm on my phone replying to stuff. So it's something I'm definitely wanting to improve upon as well. So would love to hear your insights.
Yeah. So the first thing is definitely keeping my phone on airplane mode. And the great thing with mornings is that nobody will be, will tell you, why aren't you responding to me at 7 a.m. in the morning? So you can get away with that. You can just turn your phone off. I basically have my phone on airplane mode. I do have a Spotify playlist downloaded, so I can start with some music. And I do start my warm-up nowadays with music. But after my warm-up, so that way I gain a little bit of momentum. But once my warm-up is done, that's when I shut my music off. So nowadays I like to train mindfully. I like to just take the whole silent environment around me in. And I like to start if so first of all, I have a look at myself and observe, like, am I stressed with something? Sometimes even first thing in the morning you might be already stressing with things. So okay, I try to identify, like, what are the things that are stressing me. Maybe I have like a stressful deadline today or this month. So I first of all start by focusing on that. Okay, this is the thing that is stressing me, because sometimes we're not even aware of what is stressing us, which makes us stress even more. So first of all, I identify the source of the stress, and then I try to come up with 3 things that I can do to take actionable steps towards solving that problem. So the reason I like to focus on 3 things is because a lot of times you feel that you don't have, like, you have 0 solutions. So focusing with 3 things helps you, like, be a little bit creative, because once you come up with one thing, then the second thing pops in a lot easier. The third thing comes a lot easier. And even if I'm struggling, like I like to start with like the most stupid idea, like what's the most stupid thing I can do to solve this problem. So if you start with easy things, without judging yourself, that helps you build momentum, and then you spark that creativity, you start coming up with better solutions. So once I have a few solutions in my head, okay, like this is what I have to do, these are the actionable steps, I then put my problem aside, and I try to do the rest of my workout mindfully. The way I do that is I do like a form of meditation I like, where I like to, first of all, be aware of my body, and I like, especially between the resting periods between exercises. When I'm doing the exercises, I like to be mindful on contracting the muscles, keeping perfect form, focusing on those cues. If you're doing like pull-ups, pulling your elbows into your ribs. If you're doing push-ups, pushing the ground away from you, stuff like that. But when I'm doing my resting periods, I like to do something that is called expansion meditation, where you start by being aware of your body, and then you try to feel your body expanding into the environment. So that creates a de-stressing effect to your body, where, because usually when you're stressed, you contract, you pull in, whereas when you're relaxed, you are more open. So doing that approach, that expansion meditation, helps me loosen up, helps me let go. And oftentimes that's when like the best ideas come. So you've already primed yourself to think about your problem if you're stressed about something, and then by letting go, your mind connects more pieces of the puzzle, and will come back to you with better solutions on that problem. Sometimes, not always, obviously. So like that's how I train when I'm starting my day feeling a little bit stressed. If I'm not stressed at all, I just do the same thing, and oftentimes other unrelated insights will come. Maybe I'll get some insights on a chapter of a book I was writing 2 days ago, and I was kind of stuck. Maybe I'll have some better ideas on other topics. But like, it's very amazing by how many of my best ideas have come during those morning workouts. So that's how I set up my morning routine. I start with a song that is kind of long, usually like or two songs, that usually add up about around 10 to 12 minutes. So, that's about my warm up. Once I'm done with my warm up, I turn the music off so I can, focus, be more mindful, and deal with problems or come with insights. And yeah, that's my whole routine, my whole approach to training mindfully in the morning.
Very interesting, man. I'm very happy that you went into detail there. So I love the just checking in, like how am I feeling? Oh yeah, I'm a
Mm.
bit wound up about this thing. And then just problem solving. So 3 actions. I also like that the first one, you're just kind of being playful or silly and not judging yourself about the solution, and then giving yourself kind of 3 opportunities. So is that like just verbal or like mentally you're kind of going through it, or are you writing this stuff down?
So it's mental, and what I do with my solutions is so I have my phone on airplane mode, but I also have the recording app open. So when I come with like maybe a very good insight, well, sometimes you come up with good ideas, sometimes not. But if I come with like a very good insight that I feel is very important, and I might like forget it later on, uh, which does happen. Like even if you do a 30-minute workout, sometimes you have a great idea, you say, I'm going to remember it, it's a great idea, and you forget about it. So what I do nowadays is I always have my recording app open. If I come up with a good idea, I just hit record, I throw it into the mic, and that way I can work with it later on. I've tried like writing stuff, but that kind of takes you out of the workout, whereas just recording things works better. In the past, I used to keep my phone out of reach, because I found it tempting to turn on that Wi-Fi, get back to people. So in the beginning, I did start with an approach where I just keep my phone away from me. After a certain point, when it became effortless for me to not check everything in the morning, I started recording things on my phone. But previously, I would have a voice recorder, just for the plain reason of not getting tempted to access my phone and go on social media and stuff like that.
Yeah, great, mate. And then I've never heard of it. Like I've done a lot of the Vipassana meditation over the years, but I've never heard of expansion meditation. But it sounds really interesting. Also, like what you said about, you contract when you're stressed or you're feeling vulnerable. So that's a really, opening up and being just more loose and relaxed. I really like that. I can really visualize that. So I'm going to definitely dive into that a bit more. It kind of reminds me as well, like Tim Ferriss, he's a thing called fear casting, I think that is the term he uses, where you have a problem or a thing you're worrying about and you just start writing down like, okay, like if this thing actually happens, like what's the worst case scenario?
Mm.
And a lot of times you just when you start writing out, you're like, oh, that's actually not that bad. Like, like the chances of that happening are really slim versus the upside. And it's actually not that bad. Like I'm going to be okay. So that can be a helpful thing for people as well. Let's jump into some rapid fire, mate, to finish up. So what's something you've changed your mind on or perspective on recently? And let's say in the last 2 years, we'll say.
Mm-hmm. That would definitely, the last 2 years, that would definitely be cardio. So, I first started with strength training, and in the past, there used to be like two camps, like people who were mostly in strength training, people who were mostly in cardio. I was also more focused on the whole physique aspect of fitness in the beginning. When I first got started, it was, more ego, more looking good. But, gradually, as I started to realize that, the main reason nowadays I train is just feeling good, emotionally, mentally, having the clarity. I realized that cardio, first of all, super important for long-term health, for longevity. And I know there are still people debating that, but I think the research at this point is pretty clear. But it is also highly underestimated for mental health. So I've been definitely the last 1.5 to 2 years, I've been definitely working a lot more on getting more cardio into my workouts.
Very good. Yeah, for sure, mate. Who would you like to sit down with for 2 to 3 hours over dinner and pick their brain and why?
Hmm. Would probably be a favorite author of mine, Robert Greene, who wrote Mastery. Uh,
Mm,
that's a favorite book of mine. So like that was literally my Bible when I first got started with self-development and all of that. Like that was the book I had that it really, really inspired me to kind of have faith in myself that, like I can start this project, I can, be a calisthenics coach, I can write books. Because, in the beginning, when you're first getting started with these things, there's, at least for me, there was a huge amount of self-doubt. And like that was the first book that helped me realize that, being good at something is just, putting in the work. Like if you can put in the work for 10 years into something you have passion for, maybe you're not going to be the best in the world, but you can definitely be at that higher percentage of people that are pretty good at their job. So yeah, I would definitely like to sit with Robert Greene. I love his work, especially Mastery. Definitely one of the books that really, really changed my mindset on developing, becoming a more successful person, becoming better at my job and all that.
yeah, he is phenomenal. And I think also that's a really important point with just sometimes getting good at stuff takes way shorter than you think. Like I was actually thinking about this just on the way back today. Like I started the chata dancing, which is a type of Latin dance in January. And I was like, it's August now, so it's 8 months of doing it. So after about 6 months, I was proficient at it,
Mm.
you know. So like I'm this Irish guy who couldn't dance, you know, and now I can dance. So like it's sometimes it's
Nice.
not, if you want to do something, a lot of times you'll get to a level of enjoyment where you can enjoy the activity within 6 months. Sometimes a lot sooner as well. And I think it's just I like maybe we can just quickly because I'm conscious of your time, mate, but that discomfort of being bad, that's what
Mm.
puts people off. They try something and they're like, I'm an idiot. I look silly. I look stupid. Uh, so could you maybe give someone one nugget on how to kind of sit with that? Because that's why people quit. They're like, oh, I'm crap and I feel like an idiot, and then they're done. Which is the same with fitness, I think, with a lot of people. So if you could share anything around that, I think it'd be very helpful as well.
Yeah, like I think the best piece of advice I could give this person would be just do the thing for 15 to 20 minutes for 2 months. and see what happens. So I always wanted to learn to play a musical instrument in my life. I kind of started playing the guitar at some points, but I was never, or I thought I wasn't good at it because I was never consistent with it. Like, I would practice for a week, and just because I couldn't, nail that Led Zeppelin solo, like I felt, I suck at this. Not thinking that, that person who played that music, probably spent, I don't know, 15 years, 10 years playing guitar ever since he was 6, or, had great mentors. And I would just get really easily disappointed. Whereas during COVID, I said, okay, I have so much more free time right now at my disposal. Let's give this music thing a try again. So I basically applied everything I tell people to apply in fitness. I applied it to music, and I just spent 20 minutes every day playing the piano and trying to sing a little bit. So, obviously at the beginning I sucked, but, now, 2 years later, how much it is, like I can play the piano and enjoy myself. Obviously, I'm not a pro at it, but I can do it in a way that is decent enough for my, girlfriend not to have to cover her ears, and actually, kind of enjoy it with me. So, and, I just did that with sticking to 15, 20 minutes, 5 days a week. And, that was it. I mean, it took 2.5 years, but, it's only 15 minutes of my day. And it's the same with fitness. Like, you can get in great shape. I'm not telling you you're gonna look like a bodybuilder, or you're going to be a pro athlete, but you can be very healthy and look strong and lean if you just focus on some basic nutrition principles, and you stick to a decent amount of exercise per week, which is most of the times a lot less than people think it has to be.
Yeah, man, that's such good advice. I also like that a lot of times it's easy for us to give advice, but us learning new stuff as fitness professionals is like someone who's never done fitness before. One little thing I'd like to add on to that as well is, like, making the thing fun is going to increase the likelihood of you doing it consistently,
Yeah.
which is huge. So, mate, I'm conscious of time, so let's wrap things up, mate. But I'd love to, like, where can people learn more about what you do? Like, where are you most active? What channels, website, social media? Just share everything, or books that you want to share.
Well, the best place to find me is, in terms of content, is YouTube. So, Bodyweight Muscle is my channel. I'm also more active lately on Instagram. It's at Bodyweight Muscle there as well. And my website is bodyweightmuscle.com.
Amazing, man. We'll note all that in the show notes, okay?
Awesome.